குண்டலங்கள் அசைய கண்டவரெல்லாம் வியக்க அகிலாண்ட கோடி பிரம்மாண்ட நாயகன் கண்ணல் நர்த்தனமாடுகின்றான். இங்கே கண்ணல் நர்த்தனமாடுகின்றான். வெண்ணைக்காக அன்று ஆய்ச்சியர் முன்னாடினான். வெண்ணைக்காக அன்று ஆய்ச்சியர் முன்னாடினான். வேண்குழல் ஊதி வனிதையருடனாடினான். வெண்ணைக்காக அன்று ஆய்ச்சியர் முன்னாடினான். வேண்குழல் ஊதி வனிதையருடனாடினான். நாகத்தின் மேலாடி அனைவரையும் காத்தான். நாகத்தின் மேலாடி அனைவரையும் காத்தான். நாமதேவர் கீர்த்தனத்தில் தனை மறந்தாடினான். நாமதேவர் கீர்த்தனத்தில் தனை மறந்தாடினான். மலையை குடையாய் எடுத்தாடி கோபர்களை காத்தான். மலையை குடையாய் எடுத்தாடி கோபர்களை காத்தான். முரளிதரன் முன் சதா பஜனம் வேண்டி முரளிதரன் முன் சதா பஜனம் வேண்டி கண்ணல் நர்த்தனமாடுகின்றான். இங்கே கண்ணல் நர்த்தனமாடுகின்றான். ஆடுகின்றான். सद्गुरु महाराज की जय. राधे राधे.
சூப்பர் சுதாச்சந்தி. வேற யாராவது பாடுறீங்களா?
ரச்சனா ஸ்டார்ட் ஆயிடுதுமா.
ஓகே ஜி. ராதே ராதே.
லக்ஷ்மிஜி நீங்க ரெடினா we can start. லக்ஷ்மிஜி I want it.
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe Jaji. Can you hear me clearly? Can you hear me?
Yes, Lakshmi ji.
Yes.
Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadhanam Dhyayet Sarvavignopashantayet. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Kalaye Sundarakaram Sadaika Priyadarshanam Ajnananashakam Devam Sadgurum Muralidharam Murali Mandita Karakamalam Munijanamohanam Yatyasthapadam Vanamaladharinam Prema Bhaktamandala Nityakirtitam Shri Premikavaradam Ashrayeham Janmadyasya yatho anvayat Vitaratashateshu abhijñaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikave Muhyanti yat surayah Tejo varimridam yatha vinimayo Yatra trisargo mrisha Dhamna svena sada nirasta kuhakam Satyam param dhimahi Dharma projita kaitavo Atra paramo nirmatsaranam satam Vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam Tapatrayonmoolanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यते यत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषवि तक्षणात् निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसम् आलयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः नाम संकीर्तनं यस्य सर्वपापप्रणाशनं प्रणामो दुःखशमनः तं नमामि हरिं परं श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्द गोविन्द सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। Radhe Radhe. By the immense kripa of our Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Maharanyam Shri Shri Muralidhara Swamiji, and the divine couple, Madhuri Sakhi Sameta Shri Premika Varada Thakurji, and our most beloved Shri Aishwarya Srinivasa Perumal. We are gathered here, I think, almost every day, remembering Krishna. Guruji says, Bhagyam ullore varangal. And I think we cannot just say Bhagyam. I think Guruji, I'm sure in his mind now thinks Mahabhagyam ullore varangal, because every day we are engaged in the very Rupam of Krishna in this Kali Yuga, it is Srimad Bhagavatam. We have it in our hands, we are reading it, we are listening to it, we are listening to the stories. I think, we say the four Purusharthas that we have to attain in one life, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And for all of us devotees here, I think, I don't think we care about all that, even Moksha. I think all we care about is Bhakti and Kainkaryam. Bhakti in the form of, Bhagavad Gunanubhavam, and Kainkaryam in the form of Bhagavad Gunanubhavam. So that is the Purushartha that Bhagavan has so beautifully blessed us with. And in Srimad Bhagavata Mahatmyam, in Padma Puranam, it says, Janmantare bhavet punyam Srimad Bhagavatam lathet. Suranam api durlabha. It says, Bhagavatam, one does not get Bhagavatam so easily. We have it every day in our hands, and we have it in our puja room, and we are reading it. But it takes crores of janmas of merit to even have this Krishna Swarupam in our hands. Janmantare bhavet punyam Srimad Bhagavatam lathet. And even for devas, when we read Mahatmyam, we have seen that even for devas, it is very, very durlabha. We hear about that story when Indra comes with that Amrita Kalasha, right? When he comes with the Amrita Kalasha and he tries to trade Srimad Bhagavatam with the Amritam. And Sri Shuka, does not even, he kind of ignores him. He says, Kwa kacha, kwa manir mahan. What are you giving me? You're giving me few pieces of glass in exchange for a diamond. And when Brahma kind of puts Srimad Bhagavatam in a balance, and Srimad Bhagavatam is on one side, and he puts all the other Shastras on the other side, we see that Srimad Bhagavatam is heavier than all the Shastras and Puranas. Srimad Bhagavatam was written just before Kali Yuga. And if you see, Krishna Avataram is also just before Kali Yuga. It is only in the last 125 years, right, of Dwapara Yuga that the Krishna Avataram happens. So we can imagine that Krishna Avataram is not for people in Dwapara Yuga. Only the few, very, very few people who were very fortunate to be with Krishna at the time of his avatara were benefited by Krishna Avatara in Dwapara Yuga. It is very clear that Krishna Avatara was for people in Kali Yuga. Because we say that because, when Veda Vyasa himself mentions that, he says, when he looked in the future, he saw the state of the people in Kali Yuga. Mandaha, Subandha Matayo, Manda Bhagya, Hyupadrutaha. He saw the state of people in Kali Yuga. He saw how they were afflicted. They were afflicted either by physical ailments or mental ailments Or like in Srimad Bhagavatam says, Adi Bhautikam, Adi Devam, like that, the misery is caused by nature, the misery is caused by others, and the misery is caused by ourselves. And finally, Srimad Bhagavatam comes and says, not anything else. It is actually the misery is caused by us. The Kalmasham is in us. That is what Kali Yuga is, right? In Kali Yuga, we clearly see that the klesha is in our minds. And finally, Bhagavatam says, whatever happens, whatever another person does, or whatever happens by the providence of God, all that is secondary. What is afflicting us the most is our own minds. And so when Vedavyasa saw that in the future, he himself got confused. We should say it is our bhagyam when Mahans have that thought. When Mahans worry about us, a great phala is what we get, right? So when Vedavyasa was worried about us people in Kali Yuga, his guru, Narada Maharshi, comes and he tells him, don't worry, Vyasa. You have written everything. You have divided the Vedas. You have given us Puranas. And you have given us the Panchama Veda, Mahabharata. But, write it in such a way that when people read it, it instills devotion in their hearts. And Vedavyasa got that. He understood what his guru was intending in that moment. And he writes Srimad Bhagavatam. So verily, Srimad Bhagavatam and Krishna Avatara undoubtedly is for us people in Kali Yuga. It takes us to that state of Amritatvam. We are in this state wherever we are. It doesn't matter whether we are in America or whether we are in India. When we have Srimad Bhagavatam in our hands and our lips, and when we are doing dhyana and smarana of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is very clear that, Bhagavan has blessed us with himself. And, that is the path. And this is very clearly the path. And it is my bhagyam to be here with all of you, Mahabhagavatas, and let me clearly say that, I signed up for this because it is Pravachanam is also an anusandhanam. Pravachanam is also a sadhana. And I'm just doing this as a sadhana. So please forgive me if there are any misgivings in this. So starting with Srimad Bhagavatam, there's been beautiful pravachans going on. And Srimad Bhagavatam, we see that there's 12 cantos in Srimad Bhagavatam. And 12 cantos. 2 days ago, Sri Gadadharanji explained how the first canto is basically the feet of Krishna. It's like Padadi Kesha Varnanam of Krishna is Srimad Bhagavatam. The feet of Krishna is Srimad Bhagavatam. The first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Kukshi is the second and third cantos. The arms are the fourth and fifth cantos. The Poshanam Tat Anugrahanat. So that is the chest. That is basically Poshana Lakshanam of Srimad Bhagavatam is explained in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where you see somebody like Ajamila, who was a great scholar, and then he falls in his life. And there is nothing that he has not done. And even when he is laying in his deathbed, he's not even thinking of Narayana. And just by, kenapi punyaleshena, maybe he got a satsanga of a sadhu, or maybe he called in a sadhu to his home. We don't know what punya he did. He named his last child Narayana, and that was his poshanam. He called Narayana day in and day out, and in his last breath, he calls out Narayana. And that was enough for our Bhagavan, Sri Hari, Sanketyam Parihasyam Va Stomam Helanameva Va. So, even if you call his name in any way, whether you mean it or not, whether you know it's Mahatmyam or not, whether you're making fun of it or not, or whether you're calling even somebody else or not, Narayana listens. Like our Guru Maharaj says, when we have relationships, we see our relationships, right, throughout our life. The one relationship that doesn't fall ever is that relationship with our Krishna. and our Krishna, he doesn't even care, he just needs a little excuse to bless his devotee. So he'll say, see, he called out my name. And that is Poshanam. That is how he does. He nurtures the devotion in a devotee is by just bestowing him with satsanga, bestowing him with Guru Kripa, and bestowing him with satsanga the rest of his life. And that is our Purushartha. So, sixth canto is the Poshanam. The beautiful Prahlada Charitram is the neck of our Bhagavan. And the beautiful countenance, the seventh canto, and the pujas are the eighth and ninth cantos. And the beautiful countenance, the beautiful mukha of Bhagavan is the 10th canto. The 11th canto is amazing. It is like a crown jewel studded with the Navayogi Upakhyana. It is studded with Uddhava Gita. So many Upadeshas in the 11th canto. So it is the crown of our Bhagavan. And like Sri Gadadharanji said, the most beautiful and the most lightest and the most easy Bhagavata Dharma that Bhagavan has, given us with his grace is that light, beautiful feather on his crown. That is the 12th canto. And if we go, chapter by chapter or canto by canto in Srimad Bhagavatam, we see, the first canto, we call it as the Adhikari Skanda. So in first canto, we see the importance of a guru and a sishya, right? How a guru should be and how a sishya should be, how a speaker should be and how a listener should be. And it starts with at the end of Mahabharata war, it shows how Draupadi takes refuge in Sri Krishna. So it shows how Uttara takes refuge in Sri Krishna. It gives us the beautiful Kunti Stuti, beautiful our Bhishma Stuti, and the birth of Parikshit. Parikshit is the whole reason we have Srimad Bhagavatam in our hands. It is such a bhagyam of our country, of our Bharat, that such a king, ruled, 5,000 years ago. He was a dharmic king. He had when the astrologer went through the horoscope of Parikshit, he was amazed to see all the good qualities of everybody in his dynasty Parikshit had. And, when we have even a slightest moment of dusanga, there is a tendency to fall. Our Parikshit had a small encounter with Kali, and he who has always protected the sages, who has always protected the Brahmanas, was the most righteous king. He fell and he, garlanded a snake on a Shanikar, and he was cursed. Always a Guru Maharaj will say that in Srimad Bhagavatam there is no curse, right? It was only Anugraham. It was Anugraham not just for Parikshit, for all the people who have been born after that. For all of us, it is great Anugraham. And, Guruji says, the farther you are from Dwapara Yuga, the better, because all the Mahans, with all their bhava, they have described Srimad Bhagavatam even more. So we get so many bhavas. As we go away, we're getting even more and more bhavas of our bhaktas and of our Mahans. So it is becoming so much relishable for all of us. So that is the story. So it starts with the story of Parikshit and how, he gets a curse. A curse is a vak, right? And see how beautifully, that vak is countered by the vak of Srimad Bhagavatam. The words in Srimad Bhagavatam verily is Shri, is our Radharani, and the Artha Krishna, or and basically is Krishna Swarupa, right? And Krishna Swarupa, when Krishna has taken Varaha Avataram, Hamsa Avataram, is in the form of a forest, is in the form of a lake. Krishna has now come for us in the form of Vak. And the Vak was countered by the Vak of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is explained in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the second canto, Sri Shuka takes over. And the primary creation is explained in the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, where Krishna gives the first, our Vasudeva gives the first Upadesha to his to the firstborn Brahmaji in the form of Chatushloki Bhagavatam, where he clearly says, I am the only one here, before me there was none, and after this universe there is none. I alone exist, and my power is Maya, and I do my work in this world with the help of Maya. And he blesses Brahma. He blesses Brahma with the work of creation. Brahma is confused because Brahma says, if we take up some work, it is very, very possible that we get that mother. We get that feeling that we have done something. So Brahma is worried. Oh, will that happen to me, Krishna? And Bhagavan blesses him. You will do the work of creation without that aham bhava. And then, he takes over the creation. And then we go on to see the secondary creation. In the third canto, we see a beautiful Varaha avataram. That is the first avataram of Bhagavan mentioned is in the third canto. And then we go on to see how the creation happens. The Prajapatis come, and then, we have our Shatarupa and Manu, Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa, their dynasty kind of starts, and our Kapila Vasudeva is born, and how he gives us the Sankhya Tattva. There's the 24 tattvas where he describes the Panchabhutas, the Akasham, the air, the Vayu, Agni, Jalam and Bhumi. And to grasp that, we should have the sense of sound, we should have the sense of touch, we should have the sense of sight, we should have the sense of, we should have the sense of, tasting and smell, right? So the Panchabhutas and the five or the senses that we have, and the sense organs we have, and the karmendriyas we have, the Mahatattvam, then the ego, the Ahankaram, the mind, and he goes on to explain the 24 tattvas. And he gives Upadesha to his own mother, Devahuti, and that is the avatara of Kapila Vasudeva. And then we go on to see in the fourth canto, our Sri Shuka is very much, he's eager. He's eager to talk about our Dhruva. Even though Priyavrata is the older son, our Shuka wants to give us bless us with the Vasudeva mantra. In even the Mahatmyam, it says, you need the Vasudeva mantra. When we start Bhagavatam, so he starts with the Vasudeva mantra and gives us the beautiful Dhruva Charitra in the fourth canto, Dhruva Stuti. And in the fifth canto, we see how the lineage of Priyavrata and the Rishabha Yogi Ishwara and Jadabharata. And we see how Jadabharata follows the path of, yoga, but he falls. So it is said that yoga is a great path. It's a great path. But even in several instances, Bhagavan mentions, there is a chance, aneka janma samsiddhi. Like, it will not be an easy path. Bhagavan clearly says it's not an easy path. If you have manda vishwasam, if your faith is not strong, okay, if your faith is not strong, and if you fall in your path, it will take you janmas and janmas to attain me, if you follow that path. And for Jadabharata, he falls just by the sight of a deer, and having compassion to the deer, he loses sight of his purpose in life. Whereas his purpose in life is to attain Bhagavan, his purpose changes from attaining Bhagavan to taking care of a deer. There is nothing wrong with compassion, but our purpose should be clear in our mind. So Jadabharata falls, but in the last janma, he makes up for it. He lives a life of where nobody would even come close to him. He wouldn't bathe. He wouldn't even eat. He would eat food that is filled with worms. He didn't even care about his body. Only he understood his mistake, and with that dridham, with that resilience and with that determination, he led his life, and we saw, how he attains Bhagavan. So that is the story of Jadabharata in the fifth canto. And the sixth canto, like I just mentioned, is Poshanam. Where our Bhagavan shows us the charitra of Ajamila. That is the compassion of Bhagavan, right? To show us the charitra of somebody like Ajamila gives us confidence that, oh, we have a chance. We all stand a chance, because by Guru Kripa and by the Kripa of Srimad Bhagavatam and by the Kripa of all the Bhaktas who facilitate Satsanga, we will definitely attain him. And then we see the Prahlada Charitra. Then we see in the 8th canto, just an elephant, he calls out Adi Moolam and he attains Bhagavan. How compassionate Bhagavan is, he's even showing an animal, can attain Bhagavan. It is just amazing, if Guruji also sings like that, right? In Kaliyam Balikulno, he sings that. Anybody by the grace of Bhagavan and by the grace of Nama can attain Bhagavan, not just us. And then he goes to explain the Amrita Mathanam, the beautiful story of Amrita Mathanam, where we see that Devas and Asuras are always in war. And he shows if somebody takes, takes Krishna on their side, they will attain Amritatvam. They will have Amrita. And all the Asuras who were not with Bhagavan, who were not with Dharma, they lost. And the 9th canto, you have the Charitra, all the Manvantras and our dynasties, the Surya dynasty and the Chandra dynasty is mentioned. Then we come to the beautiful 10th canto. The 10th canto is our refuge. Srimad Bhagavatam is a Mahapurana. A Purana may have like 5 or 6 Lakshanas. But for it to become a Mahapurana, it has to have Dasa Lakshana. So we've seen that, Sargam, Visargam, all that is explained, right? Sthanam, Poshanam, Utayah, Manvantara, Ishanukata, Ashraya, all that, all those Lakshanas, Nirodha, Mukti, Ashraya. So all that Lakshana our Srimad Bhagavatam has. And our 10th canto is our refuge, clearly. Clearly, our Bhagavan Shri Krishna is our refuge. So because we see from canto 1 to canto 9, like Parikshit, like Shukamuni primes Parikshit to listen to Krishna Katha. And, even after listening, even after sitting there, Nirjalam, and, and without even winking his eyelid, he's sitting and listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. He's taking in that nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. Even then, Sri Shuka, he tests him by just giving him a gist of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Shri Parikshit says, please don't do that to me. I have not done any, I come from a dynasty where, we all lived with Krishna. We played with Krishna. My grandfathers, they were like friends. He used to come and sit there in my house. He used to eat from here, this plate. He used to take care of the cows there, the horses there. This is where he walked. This is where he slept. Please don't do that to me. I have heard so much of him. Now, if you just limit it by a few shlokas, it is not fair. So please give me the entire Krishna Katha. So he will request Shri Shuka to give him the entire Krishna Katha. And we see how in the first 3 cantos itself, our Krishna is born. Krishna is born, but Krishna is born in such a situation that, there is no, he's born in a prison, right? But we see, how the doors open and our Yamunaji gives way and he goes to our Yashoda and Nanda Baba's house. And then there is Nandotsavam. Then Kamsa does not give them much time for enjoyment. There is Putana comes, and Trinavarta comes. Then there is Namakaranam. They grow up, and all these Asuras start coming back to back. And then he blesses Yashoda Amma with the beautiful Damodara Leela, where Shri Shuka himself goes into Samadhi when he thinks of Yashoda Amma, because, how this gopi got blessed with Krishna, day in and day out, she's doing every karya with his stories on the lips. Leela, we have the Govinda. Then just like how he said, the face of Bhagavan is Pandas. I think my internet connection is a little bit done. The Pancha Prana is so, it shows, like he has done the Brahma Mohana Leela, right? He has taken care of Brahma, blessed Brahma. He has blessed Indra, and now he's blessing the gopis with the highest. The gopis are the epitome of devotion, right? We all have, we all express our love in different ways. Like we can express love to Krishna in the form of Vatsalya Bhava, right? Like Yashoda Amma did. Or Sakya Bhava, like our Gopas did, or Dasya Bhava, like our Hanumanji did, or, and all these bhavas. And then there is this highest bhava, the Shringara Bhava, that the Gopis did. And Gadadharanji beautifully explains, who is talking about Rasam. And it is none other than Sri Shuka. We know the story when, to explain the greatness of Sri Shuka, in Bhagavatam alone it says, where when he passes through and the ladies are taking a bath in a river, they don't even feel that anybody different from them is walking. But after some time, when Veda Vyasa walks, they cover their bodies. That is not to put down Veda Vyasa, just to show who is going to talk about Rasa in the 10th canto. It is verily Sri Shuka who is going to talk about Rasam in the 10th canto. And who is doing Rasa? Like Gadadharanji beautifully says, Bhagavan. It starts with Bhagavan. Says Bhagavan is the one who is doing Rasa. And who is enjoying Rasa with Bhagavan is Gopis. Gopis are in the Hridaya of Sri Shuka. Gopis are in the Hridaya of our Bhishma, who was a brahmachari for generations. He wants to think about gopis during his last breath, that if I get a janma, next janma, I want to be born as a gopi. So after that beautiful Rasa Panchadhyay, we see in the next chapter, we see how our Nanda Baba and all the Brajavasis, they take a fast. It's very interesting because after Govinda Pattabhishekam also, we see that our Nanda Baba has a little threat from Varuna, right? And now after Rasa Panchadhyay, similarly, I was just thinking, it is not a chapter that is much talked about, 34 and 35, these chapters. But, I was just thinking, same thing happens to Nanda Baba after Govinda Pattabhishekam. And here, he's just laying down on by the riverside, and he has fasted. They're all fasting. They have taken up a pilgrimage. And they're all fasting and they're laying down. And it has now become night. Night has fallen. And a very hungry snake, it comes like a python, it comes and it tries to swallow our Nanda Baba. And when it does that, all the people who are close to him, they try to shout Krishna, Rama, they shout their names. And our Krishna comes and he saves Nanda Baba. And when he does that, when he kills that snake, a beautiful form emerges, and that's a Vidyadhara by the name Sudarshana. So Krishna asks him, how come, you have such a beautiful form and now you have taken this form? So he says, I am Sudarshana, I'm a Vidyadhara. I am in my previous janma, like I was extremely handsome, very, very good looking. And he had that pride of his looks. So what he did is that he used to make fun of all the people, all the people who were not so, good looking, or I don't know, they had some deformity or something like that. He used to make fun of them. And there was a sage called by the name Angira, and he made fun of that sage. And so, he that sage curses him, and then he takes up the form of the snake. So that is because of that curse only he took that form. And our Vidyadhara Sudarshana says, it is and how Krishna actually doesn't kill. He just touches the snake, but with his feet, doesn't kill. So that Sudarshana says, um, people, get purified just by your name. Brahma dandat vimuktoham sadya te achyuta darshanat yannama grinhan nakilan shrotrunna atmanam evacha sadya punati kim bhuya tasya sprishta padahite. So he says, you you rid me of this curse from the sage, just by the touch of your feet, whose names, are enough to purify and get rid of all the afflictions of people. You have actually gone beyond that, and you have actually touched me. And can you imagine my state after that? And he bows down to Krishna and he goes on. And then we see the story of Shankachuda. On a different occasion, what happens is that Krishna and Balarama, they are sporting in the forest, and it is nighttime. And a beautiful breeze is there. There's the beautiful fragrance from the jasmines and the water lilies, and all the animals are just mesmerized by the song of Krishna and Balarama. And not only the animals, of course, our gopis are also mesmerized. And the moon has risen in the sky, and it's beautiful stars in the sky. And it was such a beautiful night again. And the gopis were there, and they were just enjoying, in trance. They were in trance, just listening to the beautiful songs of Krishna and Balarama. And then what happens is that when they were doing such, an attendant of Kubera, okay, that is our Shankachuda, comes there. And our Shankachuda, what he does is that he abducts the gopis and takes them northwards. And because Krishna and Balarama are so much immersed in their own bliss, they do not realize that the gopis have gone. But after some time, they notice that gopis have actually, been taken by Shankachuda. And then Krishna runs behind them. They cry out. They cry out the name of Krishna and Balarama, and they go behind. And our Krishna, just with a fist, he severs the head of Shankachuda, and he gets that money. The Shankachuda has a money on his forehead. He gets that money, and he gives that money, which is a jewel, to his brother Balarama in the presence of all the gopis there. So that is the 34th chapter. And then we move on to the Yugala Gita, which is the 35th chapter. And this is called Yugala Gita because the verses are paired in Yugala. So that is why it is called Yugala Gita. And it starts with Gopyaha Krishne Vanam Yate Tamanutruta Chetasaha Krishna Leela Pragayantyo Ninyuh Dukkena Vasaran. So when Krishna goes to goes to the forest for pasturing the cattle, all the women folk, what they do, they spend their time in Viraham, and just singing about his pastimes. So very clearly he says, what we are doing now is what Krishna wants us to do, always do Krishna Kirtanam, Krishna Gunanubhavam, and then, Smaranam. When we go to bed, when we have finished all the satsanga throughout the day and we have finished all the duties that we have to do, when we go to bed, let's just remember, do the smaranam of Krishna. So gopis clearly show us that path. That is the highest path. Just like Guru Maharaj says, at least, we can think of our gopis. We can think of them and we can live like that. We may not be, can never even come close to that, but just listening to their charitra and listening how their love was for Krishna, that itself is very purifying for us. That we live in a world where we are tainted by names and forms. for us, we have, for us, what is how that creates the Bheda Bhava. Like, oh, that person is mine, that person is not mine. We have in this world all these names and forms, and our Krishna and our gopis, they show us that we have to rise above all those names and forms and just to see Krishna in all these names and forms. Only Krishna Swarupa and Krishna in everybody. So, and then gopis sing. So gopis just to sing this Geetam, actually it is just their smarana of how Krishna goes to the forest, how he is beautifully decorated, how he wears all these all the malas and the tulasi mala and the beautiful peacock feather, and how he goes to the forest with his brother and all the gopas, and how he herds cattle. And they did not only describe that part is described in the first part of the shloka, and the second part is described how that form of Krishna has actually affected everybody in this world. Everybody in this whole universe is mesmerized by that form of Krishna. So that is how the phrase, the verses are described. So the first lines will describe the form of Krishna and what he does, and then the second part of the phrase will describe how even the trees, the bees, the cranes, the elephants, even Brahma and Shiva, all of them are mesmerized by the form and by the flute, by the Venu Geetam. Everybody is mesmerized by our Krishna. So that is how it is described. Vamabaho Kritavamagapolo Valgita Prutharapidavenum Komalanguli Virashrita Margam Gopyairayati Yatra Mukunda Vyomana Vanita Sahasitte Vismitadupadharya Salajja Kamamargana Samarpita Chitta Kashmalam Yayuhu Pasmrita Nivya. So they say how our Krishna, the way he stands with a little tilt, right? He has like 3 places where he is, he has a little twist, right? So he's standing with his Venu, and his cheek is touching the flute. They are just remembering that form of Krishna, and they're saying, Krishna, when he stands like that and he sings, in all that cars, that Vimana, the aerial cars, all these, the spouses of these Siddhas are going in the aerial cars in the sky, okay? And when they look down and they, they see Krishna like that, they go into trance, it seems. They just go into trance, just seeing that form of Krishna. Okay, then I'll just do a few shlokas. Hanta chitramabala shunatedam harahasa urasi stira vidyu nandasunuраyamarta jananam narmado yarhi kujita venu vrindasho vraja vrishamrigagavo venu vadya hrita chetasara danta drishta kavaladrita karna netrita likita chit Pramivasan. So, here he says that darling of Nanda, wearing his beautiful pearl necklaces, and he has that Maru, the Lakshmi Devi on his chest. It is like a lightning. Okay. And then and that Tayar is there to bless all those, and she's looking at who all the bhaktas are there, and then she's looking up and telling Bhagavane, this devotee is standing before you, can you please take a look at him, you please bless him. And how that, when that Lakshmi Devi does that, when she looks and then she looks up, and it gives Pulakankitam to Bhagavan itself. Shri Shankaracharya describes, right, in the Kanakadhara Shrutam, he says how that, how Lakshmi Devi gives Pulakankitam to Bhagavan, and she is actually the mother of the universe, right? She wants to bless everybody in the world. So, and and then he's saying that form of Krishna, that is the beautiful Nandalal with all his Muttumalai, and when he plays his flute, And all these cows and bulls, they are all the deer and everybody in the forest, all their ears are like this, like, as if you've taken a picture. Suppose you take a picture, they'll all be like that only, right? Stationary-ஆ இருக்கும் எல்லாம். And then, and what will they have in their mouth? They'll have all this grass, right? And they're just chewing the grass and they've stopped chewing the grass. And the grass is still in their mouth and you can see it on either side of their teeth. So, it very beautifully described how the cows or even the animate object, like, one that have jiva, they lose themselves, they become like a stone when they hear the flutes, the sound of the flute of our Nandalala. Okay, and then he talks about Barhina Tapakadatu Palashe Baddha Malla Paribarhi Vidamba Karhi Chit Sabala Asi Sa Ali Sagope Gasamapayati Yatra Mukunda Tarhi Bhagna Gataye Sarito Vai Tat Padambujarajo Anilitam Sprihayati Tavayamiva bahu punya prema vepita bhuja timitapaha. So here he says, when he dresses with Balarama, he puts on the garb of a wrestler. Okay, but still he has this tuft of, எப்படி இருந்தாலும், his feathers, peacock feathers give him away. So he has those peacock feathers and he has that, looking like a wrestler when he walks, then, and he plays his flute. Even the rivers, the rivers that are flowing, they're hearing that Venugeetam, no? And they're hearing the Venugeetam, they want to slow down. Okay, they try to slow down because they want to just take and behold that Rupam of Krishna. And how Sri Shuka describes here, the waves of the river are the waves that are on the top of the river, right? They are like the arms of the river, it seems. They just want to behold him. And they're just thinking, maybe we'll, maybe I wish the river is thinking, I wish the breeze will carry some renu from his padam and just sprinkle on us. No, that is how the rivers are thinking. Okay, so we saw how the cows are, captivated, how the rivers are, how the Siddha ladies, who are going in the aerial cars, they are in trance. Okay, and then Anucharai Samanuvarnita Viryam Adi Purushaivaachala Bhuti Vanacharo Giritateshu Charanti Venu Napayati Kasayadahi. So here he says, our Lord, who's basically, pasturing all the cows. When he plays the flute in the forest, the trees and all the creepers, they are laden with the fruits, right? And all these, the branches are just filled with the fruit and they're just pouring nectar. They're just pouring the nectar, they just cannot bear that, and I'll just take one or two more shlokas. Vivita gopu charaneshu vidakto venuvadya uruda nija siksha tava sutasati yadadara bimbi datta venuranayat swarajati savana shastadupadarya suresha shakra sharva parameshti puroga kaveyanata kandara chitta Kashmalam yayuhu nishchita tattva. Just give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, I'm sorry about that. So here the shloka talks about how the who is the the oldest in the universe, Brahma, to the destroyer of the universe, Shiva. They are also, when they hear the Venu Geetam in Vraja, their necks are coming, their heads and necks are they're straining beyond the clouds, it seems, and then trying to listen to that Venugeetam. And when they listen to that Venugeetam, it is something that they have never heard before. And they're saying how even they get confused and they go in a trance. So that is how our Krishna is. And you know what? Ivlo Leelagal Pandrar, and how beautiful it is. But uh, still it is so difficult for us, no? And when we listen to his katha, when we see his form, even in the form of a deity, or even anywhere we see his form, um, yeah, and even though we have all the nama also, sometimes we forget this Rupa, and these stories and this many leelas he has done is done only for us, so that we forget all the miseries that we are going through, all the afflictions we have. Adellam marannu, you just do your duties. He's saying just to do your duties, just like our gopis say, no, you have accepted us because we followed dharma. Right? You have accepted us because of that only. If we did not stay in the path of dharma, you would have never accepted us. So please don't tell us to go back, he says, right? So like that, when we stand in the path for, like Gadadharanji said, for us to attain Bhagavan, first we have to be humane, right? First we have to be compassionate, we have to be pure, we have to be truthful. And the compassion manasila irukkanam, and the whatever negativities, we have to let it go, right? Because we want to place our Krishna in our hearts. So we have to let it go. Other let it go is not easy, right? We all know that it is not easy. So what did he do? He gave us his most beautiful form. It's like our Guru Maharaj would say, if you put everybody, all the gods in a room, and then you ask a foreigner to pick a god, and then you will notice that they will go to Krishna. He's so attractive. Krishna, Karshayati iti Krishna, right? He's so attractive. And his leelas are even more attractive. His leelas are not to be followed, right? His leelas are only to be relished and enjoyed. He has given us that. So let us hold on to his nama, let us hold on to his katha and his rupa lavanyam and gunam, and to take us across this ocean, just like he has blessed us with this Maha Satsanga of Saptaham, amazing Sapta Saptaham. And let he continue to bless us with that. And just like our Guru Maharaj sings, just like Tamare ile pole in the samsarathil, let us be, where we are not affected. We are there. We do what we need to do, but we are not afflicted by that, because we have that same Krishna in us as Antaryami, right? So we don't have to worry about anything. So with that thought, and with his nama and on our lips, and with his rupa always in our eyes, let us see this world as his swarupam. And let us always, whenever when we retire, at the end of the day, we just have that smarana of that beautiful satsanga that we got the entire day. And thank you so much for this opportunity. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रिये वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. सद्गुरु महाराज की जय. राधे राधे.
Sadgurunath Maharaj ki jai. Radhe Radhe, like we
राधे राधे.
see, actually we are doing the end of fifth Sapta Saptaham. So 35 days of Parayanam, Madhura Geetam, Pravachan has happened, and you aptly summarized also for us. 35 நாள் நடந்ததெல்லாம் அழகா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கேண்டோல இருந்து ரொம்ப like where we are right now அப்படிங்கறத வந்து அழகா சமரைஸ் பண்ணி, and as you said, Nanda Baba's Leela வந்து ரொம்ப கம்மியா இருந்தது. Even though Nanda Baba has been with Krishna for all time, Yashodama has taken over. His motherly love has taken over to compare to Nanda Baba's thing. But I think அழகா நீங்க ரெண்டு மூணு அவருடைய லீலாவை எடுத்து அழகா காமிச்சு, and then Yugla Geetam, you summarized it very well. So we all enjoyed a lot, Lakshmi. Thanks for putting effort and doing a pravachan for us. So it's very, very, we really enjoyed it. Thank you. Radhe Radhe, Lakshmi. So Vijiji Madhura Geetham ஆயிடுத்தில்லையா? So
ஆயிடுத்து.
நீங்க ஆர்த்தி காமிக்க முடியுமா விஜிஜி? Are you in home or
முடியும்.
Okay. Lena, I thought we can do it offline, like we can conclude and do it offline also. Like if you're okay, then you can do.
முடியும் கண்டிப்பா பாக்கியம்.
Oh, okay. Sure. அப்ப நீங்க வீடியோ ஆன் பண்ணிட்டு then we can do the ஆர்த்தி. ஆர்த்தி song யாரு பாடுறீங்க? Anybody want to volunteer for ஆர்த்தி song?
யாரும் இல்லைன்னா ராதே ராதே நான் பண்றேன்.
நித்யாஜி பண்ணுங்க.
ஒரு நிமிஷம் எடுத்துக்கிறேன். ராதே ராதே. ஹரே ராம 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 ஹரே ஹரே, ஹரே கிருஷ்ண 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 ஹரே ஹரே. ஒரே ஒரு கோபிகா ஜீவன ஸ்மரணம் கோவிந்தா கோவிந்தா. சத்குருநாத் மகாராஜ் கி ஜெய். விஜய்ஜி நீங்க ரெடினா சொல்லுங்க.
ரெடிமா.
ஜய ஜய பாகவத தேவா, ஜய ஜய பாகவத, ஜய ஜய ராதா கிருஷ்ண ஸ்வரூபா, ஜய ஜய ராதா கிருஷ்ண ஸ்வரூபா, ஜய ஜய பாகவத தேவா, ஜய ஜய பாகவத. பட்டுதர மருபூமோ चरतां पति पति परिपटनं, परिपदललितं त्वां त्यक्त्वा परमसुखं कुतः देवा, जय जय भागवत. परमपदे भगवान् भक्त परिपालन गुणवान्, कमलभवाय कृपया त्वां निज कमलमुखेन ददौ देवा, जय जय भागवत. नवनवरसभरितं दिव्यं नारायणमुखगलितं, नलिनासनदेवा प्रददौ नारदमुनये त्वां देवा, जय जय भागवत. आलोट्याखिल शास्त्रं भगवान् नवाप्य मनःशान्तिम्, आस्वाद्यातुलरसं ते शाश्वतमानन्दमाप परं देवा, जय जय भागवत. निगमान्तोत्तरोर्गलितं मधुरं निरवध्यपदलसितं, निर्गुणनिष्ठोऽपि शुको नित्यं पिबति त्वां देवा, जय जय भागवत. कलिमलहरणं त्वां श्रुत्वा कैवल्यसुखप्रदं, कृष्ण प्रेमनिमग्नो राजा, कृष्ण प्रेमनिमग्नो राजा, कृष्ण पदाम्बुजमाप देवा, जय जय भागवत. जय जय भागवत देवा, जय जय भागवत. जय जय राधा कृष्ण स्वरूप, जय जय राधा कृष्ण स्वरूप, जय जय भागवत देवा, जय जय भागवत. भागवत भगवान की जय. मंगलम अम्मा पाடுறீங்களா?
பாடு. வியாசருக்கு மங்களம், சுகருக்கு மங்களம், சூதருக்கு மங்களம், விதுரருக்கு மங்களம், உத்தவர்க்கு மங்களம், மைத்ரேயர்க்கு மங்களம், பரிஷத்துக்கு மங்களம், பாகவதத்துக்கு மங்களம். ஜெய மங்களம் நித்ய சுபமங்களம், ஜெய மங்களம் நித்ய சுபமங்களம், ஜெய மங்களம் நித்ய சுபமங்களம். भागवत भगवान की जय. सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. गुरुवायूरप्पा शरणम.
A temple or a house?
Vijiji Achan, Vijiji, Dallas Vijiji.
कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियः
कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायति समर्पयामि। सर्वं कृष्णार्पणं गुरुवे शरणं सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। Big Radhe Radhe Vijay ji, beautiful aarti, beautiful darshan இன்னைக்கு ரொம்ப ரொம்ப நல்லது. ராதே ராதே.
சூப்பரா இருக்கு கோவில் மாதிரியே இருக்கு விஜய்ஜி
அதே
ராதே ராதே ராதே
கோவில் மாதிரி இருக்கு.
ஆமா
அதனாலதான்
Yes, yes. கோயிலே தான் அம்மா, கோயில் மாதிரி இல்ல, கோயிலே தான்.
அல்ல பரமகுரு
Really, each house is a kovil. It's a temple.
விஜய்ஜி நீ உங்க
சாரதா
மூஞ்சி
தேவி,
காமிங்களேன் நீங்க
பரமஹம்ச
யாரும்
சபா.
பாக்குறேன்
So it is called Devalaya. The man in the house is a Deva, and the woman is the lady is the Devi, and the siblings children are Kutti Devadas. Very gods. Very good.
ஜி கொஞ்சம் யுகலத்தை கிட்டக்க காமிங்க, கொஞ்சம் கிட்டக்க யுகலத்தை. நியர்.
வெரி பியூட்டிஃபுல் விஜய்ஜி காரடியா நம்ம ஷரடு வேற கட்டின்னு இருக்காரு அது
ஆமா ஆமா.
கிருஷ்ணர் நானா இருக்கா பெரியவா இருக்கார்.
நமஸ்காரம் பெரியவா. அச்சனும் அம்மையும் வந்திருக்கா இங்க லட்சுமிஜி எல்லாம், அதனாலதான் எல்லாம் பூஜெல்லாம் நடக்கிறது. பெரியவாள் அவளும்
ഒന്നും അല്ല, എല്ലാവർക്കും ഇരിക്കെല്ലാം.
ரொம்ப ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம். ரொம்ப தேங்க்ஸ்
Thank
ஜி.
you. Thank you.
ராதே ராதே.
Thank you, Jiji. ராதே ராதே everyone.
லக்ஷ்மி ஜி
ராதே ராதே.
நமஸ்காரம்.
ராதே
ரொம்ப
ராதே.
ரொம்ப ஜோரா இருந்தது.
ஒரு 6th சப்தாகம் நாளைக்கு பார்க்கலாம். ராதே ராதே.
ராதே ராதே
ராதே ராதே.